Travel this land to Baffin's Island, travel this land to Hudson's Bay. Travel this land so full of wonder, travel this land to a brighter day.
Welcome to Travel This Land. On today's program, Whiz takes us to the wide open skies of sunny Manitoba.
My hand and travel this land, travel this land, travel this land.
The first thing I noticed on crossing the Canadian prairie province of Manitoba was its incredible flatness, the wide open sky, and the wheat fields which seemed to stretch away forever in a great ocean of gently waving grain. Being raised in a narrow mountain valley in the interior of British Columbia, the flatness of Manitoba and its wide open spaces at first felt strange. But all those feelings evaporated the first time I awoke before dawn to view a Manitoba sunrise.
The dream of every farmer has its cost, like getting the crop off before the frost, like riding on the binder dawn till dark, like trying to start a fire from a spark. We married when the flowers bloomed in May, at the little country church of Brandon Lee. Her hair is gold as the shining wheat, her love is deep and warm as this life is sweet. Manitoba sunrise, Manitoba dawn, Manitoba morning, Manitoba song.
Manitoba is called the Keystone Province because it is located in the very heart of Canada. The settlers at the Red River Colony, at the present site of Winnipeg, were the first wheat farmers on the Canadian prairie. Manitoba is not Canada's largest wheat-producing province. That distinction belongs to Saskatchewan, which alone grows over 60% of Canada's wheat. However, wheat is grown throughout southern Manitoba, primarily where there are medium to fine-textured black soils, especially in the southwest. Western Canada's dry climate and short growing season of only 90 frost-free days posed a great challenge to the early Manitoba wheat farmer. They lived through precarious times. Many wheats brought over from Europe could not survive Canada's severe winters. In 1870, a hardy wheat called Red Fife was introduced to the prairies. It was much better than the other varieties, but even Red Fife froze in the fields in years with early frosts. In the spring of 1909, a new variety of wheat was developed by Sir Charles Saunders. It was a cross between several strains of wheat, and Saunders called it Marquis. Sir Charles Saunders distributed the wheat to Canadian farmers, and although it took several years to verify, it soon became apparent that it matured earlier than Red Fife. It matured before even the early frosts and produced an excellent yield. It also had superior milling and baking qualities. The popularity of Marquis wheat spread rapidly, and Western wheat production doubled and tripled from 2 million tons in 1904 to 7 million tons by 1913. Today, wheat is Canada's most important cultivated crop, with about 18% of Canada's 293,000 farms classified as wheat farms. Wheat is now the most important cereal in the world. With rice and maize, it accounts for about 73% of world cereal production. Canada now produces an annual average of over 25 billion tons of wheat.
Family farms grow fewer every year. That's the only thing that I hold dear. And the grain drill has sure reduced my toil. Still I've gotta watch for blowing the soil. Funny how the seasons come and go. Seems lately it's always blowing snow. I'm lucky, but kids are still around. It's only 7 miles drive to town. Manitoba sunrise, Manitoba dawn, Manitoba morning, Manitoba song.
The production of prairie wheat usually amounts to about 3 times the domestic consumption. Canada exports close to 19 billion tons of wheat each year. The wheat industry is export-oriented, providing cereal grain for a large number of the world's countries. Stored in wheat elevators, the grain is shipped to the port of Thunder Bay and carried away in the big freighters. The protein levels of prairie wheat are between 12 and 15%. It is a hard, red spring wheat that is used for bread, and much effort goes into maintaining the strength and the mixing qualities of Canadian wheat. Yet, in spite of the size and importance of this industry, the number of Canadian wheat farmers has continued to decline dramatically. In 1951, 38% of the prairie population were on farms. By 1981, this number was reduced to only 11%. Part of this decline is due to the rapid advances made in recent years in the technology of machinery and farm implements, such as tractors, combines, grain drills, and other pieces of machinery vital to the prairie wheat farmer. Canada's farmers buy over $2 billion worth of machinery and implements each year. As the number of people engaged in farming has decreased, so has the size of the wheat farm increased. These changes have been made possible by developments in farm machinery that permit Canadian farmers to till, seed, and harvest ever larger acreages of land with less expenditure of time and energy. Modern combine harvesters are capable of harvesting a wide range of crops from wheat and barley, corn, and soybeans. They can cut and harvest a wide swath in a single pass, thus allowing the farmer to harvest hundreds of acres per day. Swathers are machines designed to cut the grain and leave it to dry in lines ready for pickup. The typical modern farm tractor is diesel-powered, and many provide a wide range of computerized operating features. The Manitoba prairie farmer has come a long, long way from the early days of the Red River colony back in the year of 1850. The Canadian prairie farmer is a strong and self-reliant breed. From the early settlement era, Western farmers depended on central Canadian business to provide their production inputs and to finance, purchase, and transport their grain. In order to gain some influence over the economic forces which controlled them, the farmers banded together in organizations formed to give them a voice.
When the combine is chewing up the field, I'm grateful for the bread it's gonna yield, and I'm happy just to see a good job done. To work beneath this Manitoba sun. The dream of every farmer has its cost, like getting the crop off before the frost, riding on the binder dawn to dawn, trying to start a fire from a spark. Manitoba sunrise, Manitoba dawn.
agricultural movements in Manitoba espoused the virtues of cooperation and criticized government tariff policy and freight rates. In 1899, the farmers forced the government to ensure better service from the railways and formed what is today called the United Grain Growers. These organizations carried on educational work among farmers and ultimately campaigned for the cooperative marketing of grain. But the farmers' movements of Manitoba and the two other prairie provinces have been more than an economic phenomenon. People in the wheat pools, the grain growers' associations, and farm political parties have been extremely influential in prairie culture, society, and politics, as well as economics. Farm movement women have been instrumental in the women's movement, child welfare, and rural education. Political protest movements initiated by the farmers eventually led to the founding of the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation, the forerunner of Canada's New Democratic Party. I stood in a field of wheat, crushed a ripe head of wheat in my hand, and chewed a kernel in my mouth. I watched a sunrise and waved to a Canadian wheat farmer. I was proud to know him, and I was grateful to see another Manitoba sunrise.
Family farms grow fewer every year. That's the only thing that I hold dear. And the grain drill has sure reduced my toil. Still I've gotta watch for blowing soil. Funny how the seasons come and go. Seems lately it's always blowing snow. I'm lucky the kids are still around. It's only 7 miles drive to town. Manitoba sunrise, Manitoba dawn, Manitoba morning, Manitoba song. Travel this land to the Rocky Mountains.
You've been traveling this land with Canada's singing storyteller, Whiz Bryant. Please feel free to write to us with your comments. We would be delighted. Thank you for listening. And join us again next time for another fascinating Canadian tale in story and song as we continue to travel this
land. To
land.
the Fraser Delta, travel this land to the Arctic Sea. Travel this land where the wild loons call, and travel this land, come along with me. Travel this land, travel this land. Take my hand and travel this land.
Travel this land to the Yukon River, travel this land to Prince Edward Isle.
Travel this land to the Gulf Stream waters, travel this land and travel in style.
The dream of every farmer has its cost, like getting the crop off before the frost, like riding on the binder dawn till dark, like trying to start a fire from a spark. We married when the flowers bloomed in May, at the little country church of Brandon Bay. Her hair is gold as the shining wheat, her love is deep and warm as this life is sweet. Manitoba sunrise, Manitoba dawn, Manitoba morning. Manitoba song. The family farms grow fewer every year. That's the only thing that I hold dear. And the grain drill has sure reduced my toil. Still I've gotta watch for blowing soil. Funny how the seasons come and go. Seems lately it's always blowing snow. I'm lucky the kids are still around. It's only 7 miles drive to town. Manitoba sunrise, Manitoba dawn, Manitoba morning, Manitoba song. And I'm happy just to see a good job done. To work beneath this Manitoba sun. The dream of every farmer has its cost, like getting the crop off before the frost, riding on the binder trying to start a fire from a spark. Manitoba sunrise, Manitoba dawn, Manitoba morning, Manitoba song.